5210. Every kid, every day. Let's have fun the healthy way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servings of fruit and veggies are great to eat. 1, 2 hours of playtime or less on our screens is more than plenty. And let's go play outside. 1 hour! Tiger it, my turn to hide. 0 sugary drinks. Yeah, that's the healthy way to think. Every kid, every day. Let's have fun the healthy way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 13th Project Echo. Today, joining us are these wonderful ladies from active Southern West Virginia. If you're just joining us, make sure that you put your name, organization, and email in the chat. We also need to know if you need CME or CEU credits. And I would like to be the first to welcome Miss Melanie Seiler and India
Krawczyk.
I couldn't do it, India. I would know I was going to chop it. Okay?
Totally fine.
So, Melanie.
Hi, thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I'm the executive director with Active Southern West Virginia and excited to speak about physical activity today and the many programs we have offered in the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. India?
Yeah, thank you for having us today. My name is India Krawczyk, and I'm the youth program director here at Active Southern West Virginia, and we're excited to be here today to talk about just being active, ways for everybody to be active.
That's right. And the objectives for today's session include the number of minutes for adults and kids to be active and what the formal best practice recommendations are, to identify some ways to increase these throughout the day, and to also identify the health benefit of incorporating more movement and physical activity into your life. So, without further ado, we're going to get started. And one of the first things that Melanie wanted to talk about was one of the new campaigns from the CDC, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Move Your Way.
Move Your Way. And I love the way that they have framed this. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But after watching the 5210 video, right? And see, look, I'm ready to go exercise, guys. Look, I have on my exercise, I've got on my tennis shoes, I'm ready to go. So tell us a little bit about Move Your Way.
Move Your Way is that health education campaign. We have used it for a number of years to provide that go-to motivation for people to be physically active. What it does is it breaks down the recommendations on a weekly basis. So, trying to tell everyone what they should do on a daily basis becomes daunting. They feel like they fail if they can't keep up every day, but frame it in a week's amount of time and it seems a little bit more approachable. So what we're looking at for adults is 150 minutes a week of physical activity, and then 2 days a week you're going to add in that moderate to vigorous strength building activity. For kids, we want to see that 60 minutes of physical activity every single day,
right.
And then the muscle building activity as well. So that we pitch that out all the time. Are you getting your 150 minutes a week? And it can look different ways for different people. It can be any activity type. It helps people to approach it in a way that works for them and is fun for them to do.
And I love that because we always are talking in the clinic that using our motivational interviewing with our patients or our clients is that we have to meet them where they are. And I think Move Your Way really lets that happen, doesn't it?
It does. So
okay.
It can range across any activity type that they want to do and that they have access to do. And what we see with those benefits are that increased mood, increased sleep, the mental status, being able to break away some of that stress and improving sleep.
Right. It's so funny that you mentioned those things in the order that you did. One of our longtime partners is Emily Murphy, which I'm sure everyone knows on this call. And when she would present to our child care directors, she would say, "So, did y'all hear about the new pink pill?" And she would go through all those benefits that you just mentioned. And she said the pink pill is really your daily exercise.
That's
so
awesome.
Isn't that awesome? So you'll have to steal Emily's pink pill
pill
story to use it, okay? All right. Well, I think that is awesome. The other thing that we're going to go through besides Move Your Way, which I think is a great way to look at it and something as providers that we need to keep in mind when we're talking to our patients instead of saying, being so prescriptive, right? And we will talk about the 5210 prescription in the end when we talk about a lot of the programs that you all have, which are incredible. Now we're going to kind of shift and talk about some framing guidance and how to make sure that our physical activity is equitable and the same for everyone. Okay? So I love this framework. And one of the things that Melanie's going to go through is the framework actually goes over do's and don't. And we've picked out the most important ones that would be applicable to providers or anyone giving advice or working with kids or families. And we're going to go through it now.
Yes, and just to hit on what that framework is putting into place is the understanding that we want to be able to deliver and provide physical activity that is reachable for people wherever they are. Yes. No matter how much money they have. We're addressing those equitable challenges that come up in prioritizing physical activity, because so often we see it as leisure time. And
how they're choosing to do their leisure time.
Yes.
Right, and you know, everybody on the call should recognize what you just described as the social determinants of health.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
So let's hop in there. So the first example that I wanted to pull out from that framework with the do's and don'ts. So we have an example here of what a provider could say, what the do is, and that is build a sense of physical activity into everyday life, regardless of where the patient lives, their current activity level, age, gender, income. And then if we look at the don't side of that same motivational strategy, we see here that we don't limit yourself to examples of physical activity as vigorous exercise during a specific time of day. I'd also add in there competitive activity.
Exactly, especially if you start with someone, like I know a lot of my patients that I see, they're not doing any movement, much less any physical activity or anything that's the moderate to vigorous or the MVPA, but we were taught that, but that can be daunting. If you think, okay, I'm not doing anything now, and it's almost like going from the couch potato to running a 5K, right? It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. You really want to place in that patient's mind they can visualize themselves doing an activity that's approachable for them.
I like that, visualize. You need to make up your own do's and don'ts.
That sounds good. Well, I really like this framework, so it really leads us off into some great conversation.
Awesome.
If we're ready for the second one, we have a second example here of do's and don'ts. So the do example here, the strategy here, hold up diverse images of what fun physical activity can look like in different settings, for different bodies, for different points in lifespan, including for people living with a disability. Again, you know, what you don't want to do in this strategy is assume that the imagery that is working for wellness industry advertisements is going to appeal to what I say an everyday person, to our regular folks. And
right, showing an activity, and what is that, not the boxing, but not CrossFit, but he's the guy that's like, he's all bulked up, muscly.
Yes,
what is
like
his name?
A gym person or a muscle builder.
Right, like I don't want to show that to my kids because it just seems not attainable.
Exactly, and we've taken that to heart with Active Southern West Virginia and our imagery, and people can ride bikes in blue jean cutoff shorts. You're going to be okay. We have one of my favorite images is an older man in his camouflage overalls doing Tai Chi. It's great, you know, it's just like.
Oh, you could get some good images for your website at Try This, because they always do Tai Chi at Try This, and it's a wonderful, it's so relaxing anyway, so I love that. And do check out their website, which we'll give you at the end, because I think that you'll see Active Southern West Virginia putting these priorities in this framework. They make it come alive on their website.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have a third example here. Do's and don'ts again. Explain how structural and environmental factors play a role in physical activity. Use words like options and opportunities. And then what you want to avoid is to don't simply assert that structural and environmental factors influence physical activity.
Okay, so that is creating again, this is going more toward that public health side of physical activity, of creating safe, in my world with kids, creating safe places to play, and what are the options and opportunities instead of only just listing programs that they may or may not be interested in. Did I get it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And to expand on that too, sometimes some of the public doesn't understand that causes and disparities and trends they shouldn't always be blamed on the individual for their outcomes.
Oh gosh, that's
So-
huge, right?
They want to have that balance. You want to bring that out and make them aware that there are challenges. How many homes in southern West Virginia and West Virginia can you not walk out your door to a sidewalk?
So I have to tell you a story. Do you think we have time?
Yes.
Do you think we do? Okay.
Absolutely.
So when we first started Keys for Healthy Kids, we went and got some training on some advocacy stuff. And I know you all are very interested in this as well. And we did some visits on the Hill. And the person that worked with us said, I want you to tell me a story. You've told me a lot of things, but you know what? They're not going to remember that. I want you to tell me about one of your patients. And one of my patients' name was Deshaun. I remember the story to date. One of my patients' name was Deshaun. And at first, Deshaun didn't do very well in Healthy Kids and with Healthy Kids group. And then he struggled quite a bit. All of a sudden, he started doing better. He was a different kid when he came in. He almost felt lighter, like he was standing taller. His labs were improved. And one of the things I follow, his blood pressure was better. He actually was on 2 blood pressure medicines as a 12-year-old. 2 blood pressure medicines to control his blood pressure as a 12-year-old. And all of a sudden, I was getting normal blood pressure readings. So I just kind of said, what's going on? I don't know what's going on, but I want you to continue it. And Mom said, well, what do you mean? So I showed her the blood pressure trends that now I know how to do that on the electronic health record where you kind of plot it. I showed her the blood pressure trends. I showed him his body mass index trends. And she said, oh, I know what it is. And I said, okay, share, so we can share with some of the other patients. And she said, we moved from the west side of Charleston to South Charleston. I would not let him go outside and play because it wasn't safe enough. And now where we live, he can walk the cemetery and he can ride his bike. So he's not sitting in his room just exercising his thumbs. Now, of course, I wanted to take credit at something magical that hit in that we did in our program. He changed his environment. He and his family moved, and they had just failed to mention that. How powerful that is. Then that goes back to that do of that opportunity or option, right?
Definitely. And I think there's a lot of room in our communities to educate people on where trailheads are and where playgrounds are, where there are safe places to go, and get them out and about a little bit more, where sometimes we do have that mentality of it's not safe, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So kind of bridging that gap a little bit and creating that awareness of all the new trails that are under construction right now across the state.
It's
hard
really
to keep
taken
up
off,
with because
isn't
there's
it?
so many that are
It's
coming
really
up.
taken off, yeah. And now, one of the things I think about trails is the families on the trail. You know, the grandparents can go, the parents can go, the kids can go, and we're getting them out in nature. And that is really not only going to help them and they're moving their way, but it's also going to help their mental health. We need to get our kids outside. And this is the season, right, to do that?
This is
the
time.
season. Yeah, well, you wouldn't know it by outside right now, but we'll pretend it's warm enough to do that. You just got to wear a good coat. There's no bad weather, just bad
Preparations.
practice.
Yeah.
Bad preparations. Okay, so I will remind everyone that to put your name in the chat, name, organization, and email, and if you want CME CEUs, and that you can also ask questions in the chat. I'm supposed to be following that, and I don't see any questions yet, but if you have any, we're going to stop right here before we go to the next topic. You can either unmute and ask me or these ladies any questions about anything we've talked about so far, or you can put your question in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to move on kind of to the next section. Okay, seeing none, we're going to progress. All right, now you're really going to tell us about another part of the framework that's broken down into the 4 Ps. And you know how we love mnemonics. So tell us about the 4 Ps and how we can use it with our patients.
Yes, so I pulled this out. There are some other examples within the full framework document, but this is applicable for that community clinic linkage. And what we see here, they've divided it into principle, process, problem, and proposal. So the
Say that 3 times fast.
you know, the principle being that we would like for providers to be as educated as possible on what is available in the community and taking advantage of the organizations that are out there doing the environmental changes, providing the programming, setting systems up in place. So part of that process, explaining what those issues are, seeing where there are gaps in information channels, realizing that the provider is a trusted source of information. And what is said by that provider is going to have so much more power than many other people surrounding them. So we know that somebody in their place of worship, a place of worship leader is very influential.
Yes.
The librarian is very influential, the provider so much more so.
And that's a lot of the places that when you're in a smaller community, in a smaller community hub, that you have access to. You know, your church family and where you go for other activities that's not necessarily physical activity. You know, you mentioned specifically that the provider needs to know those things. We want to, again, make sure that we're addressing the patient and knowing what they like to do. But at the same time, we have to make sure that our patients are aware of everything that are in the community. Do you have any advice for those providers of like where they start to maybe how they make a list or I don't know, I don't want to say a handout, so to speak,
Well,
because keeping it up would be
that's
a
what I
full-time
wanna
job, right?
Definitely, you know, recognize that tracking down programming is a wormhole. It's forever changing. You're just constantly, it is, trust me, we have a website calendar
Okay.
that lists everything. That's the home base of all our program offerings.
Great. And are you going to talk about that a little bit more later, India?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So we will be able to give them somewhere to go to check out and
Yes,
find programs
absolutely.
in their, wherever they are. Okay, awesome.
So that, you know, that's just for Active Southern West Virginia. So it does take the partnerships and love being part of this network so we can share where everyone is posting those programs
That's
because
perfect.
it does take a lot of energy to pull those all together. So
Right, okay.
again, that's part of the process. You know, the problem here again, just seeing where we do have those communication breakdowns, and so some providers aren't as familiar with the area, or if they've just moved to the area and they're getting a practice started or joining a practice, they can't know everything on day one.
Right, and we're so inundated in healthcare right now, you know, especially on our checkups. I've been seeing so many funny things on listserv of, oh, yeah, I'll do that screen. I'll add it to the 150 other ones. Now I'm up to 151. So knowing all those activity things can be a little bit harder to do. And that's why at Keys that we recommend that the providers have a follow-up visit on any of those health behavior issues through the 5210 screen that can be causing problems. So maybe you bring them back just to talk about that so that it doesn't all have to be squeezed into that visit that's already wreaking havoc with, you know, you're just like, I can't do this all in 15 minutes. Okay, so that is awesome. That problem is the time for physicians to actually do this as well.
Yes, and you just went through a great solution with that proposal part as well. So the community end, you know, providing an easy go-to place to find the programming and see that. And again, the clinical side is creating systems within their processes too, so there's time for follow-up and time to check in on nutrition and physical activity recommendations and prescriptions.
And you gave a lot of good examples of where to look for things. Is there any other big hubs in the communities that kids or families should look so that, you know, even the process? I mean, I think the process is what the providers are going to have the hardest time with.
It is. We definitely want to recognize that that's not an easy task to undertake, but West Virginia Health Connection
is another site. Okay.
Definitely, and they're spanning the state. They're growing by leaps and bounds. And on the West Virginia Health Connection, there is a state map with programming there, and we see everything from diabetes prevention classes, walk with ease classes, all of our physical activity programming, and it just keeps growing as well.
That's great, and I'll try to put those in the chat before we sign off. I can't double task, too old. So what are the other barriers that you're hearing from folks that you're trying to engage in physical activity?
What we hear most often is time.
Okay.
People having the time to fit it in. And if we just think about the working class for a moment, and they have kids, they have kids going places, they probably have parents they need to take care of. They're trying to get to and from jobs, and we have a lot of travel to and from jobs in our communities in rural West Virginia. So fitting that time in, that's where we try
to come in and fill the gap.
We want to place those programs where they already are, at the school, at the workplace, in the small town and community, getting it where they are already traveling in that week. If you could like map them with a red dot across all the places they go in a week's time, that's where you put the program. You're not asking them to go to the only gym that serves the whole county. That's not going to work, and we all know that.
Right.
So that's one way. Time is one barrier.
Cost. That's the barrier I hear the most, is that from my families, I hear that the activities that are free through school are competitive, and my child is not going to be competitive. And again, I'm thinking about my kids that really, their BMI is on the higher side, and they're not athletic, they're not fit, and what can I do to get them moving, to move their way? And sometimes at home first, to get them comfortable before they go in to any kind of a group setting, even with their family outside in public.
Exactly. And another one I hear from, curious if you've heard this too, is people express that they're afraid of getting hurt and afraid they don't know how to go about it.
Really? I don't as much, but I think we serve, well, you do.
Or if
everybody.
they say, oh,
you serve everybody, right?
I'm not going to do that. I have bad
knees.
knees. No, I have a bad back. I'm not going to do that.
That's
so their fear of
because I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, they've got aches and pains. They have arthritis, not realizing that more movement would
is going to make the arthritis better. And then asking if they have access or an option of a pool, because we know that one of the best things for arthritis is definitely swimming.
Yes, we're currently trying to map every available public pool in our 6 county areas, our next resource listing.
All right, so here, pressure's on. Can you list your 6 counties?
Yes, we are. Our focus counties.
Let's see. We're going to count, guys.
Nicholas.
Ready? Nicholas.
Fayette. Raleigh.
Summers.
Boone. Kanawha.
And we're so glad they're in Kanawha County now. We're new. We're a new county for you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's awesome. I would love to hear from you guys in the audience and the barriers that you hear. We talked about 3 barriers and the biggies, right? So we talked about time for our adults. It can be for kids too, but that's definitely for our busy working parents, especially if they're taking care of kids and then parents on the other end. We talked about cost and the cost of a program or joining a gym, which you don't necessarily have to do, right? Right. Again, go into those options or opportunities. And then we talked about ability, skill. Can I do it? Am I going to get hurt? I would be interested to know anybody else that is on. You guys give me some love in the chat. What else are the barriers that you hear while we've got these ladies here that can answer that for you and kind of give you some other resources to think about? Nobody's playing with me today, guys. They're not playing.
Let me think of some others. So
you all are putting Melanie on a spot. Come on. Yeah.
Geographic location.
That
travel, which is also cost and expense for travel, but the geographic location. So
which again goes to that environment. Taking that into play. Safe. Okay, thank you, Dr. Cross. Holly said parental support. Okay, and that's one of the things that I learned. Thank you, Holly, for that. Is either the parents want them to do it, which makes the kids feel sometimes attacked. So they, even if they were a little bit interested, they say they're not at all interested, right? Or the kid wants to do it, but then the parent is dealing with all these other issues that they don't have the time and finances to do so. So it's really getting them to kind of meet together. The other thing that they're saying on here is motivation, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later when we talk about the specific programs. And then childcare, access to childcare. So if as a mom I want to do something with my older children, what am I going to do with my younger ones? And that's when you really have to look for a family activity, and those family walks, going to the park, the trails. The trails, I think we've really got to hit them harder. Because it can be multi-generational. Aren't most of them? Well, I mean, it's listed.
Yeah, you want to pick your intensity because West Virginia mountains offer quite a variety
Right. So
of
if
terrain.
we want to do an intergenerational trail with our kids in a stroller or a baby on the back,
Yes.
and the grandparents, you have to look for that specifically
And
about the trail information.
We've built that out in our website resource list as well. So we have stroller-specific trails across those 6 counties. So
Awesome.
lots of rail trails, lots of flatter trails, talking about the accessibility and what amenities are close to those as well. So if there are restrooms or not.
Okay, and we have one question here that's long enough that I have to put my glasses on. And the question is are there apps that have been considered to share with patients that would be a viable way of putting resources like the trailheads and the other things that you've talked about right into the hands of patients?
Yes, those already exist. So right off the top of my head, All Trails, ALL Trails, All Trails is a great trail resource app, and that's going to provide you with extensive detail. It's nationwide, if not larger, so you would have to narrow it down to your area.
Jessie Kreiner uses that when she travels.
Perfect.
Yay, us!
There's UDisc if you want to find a disc golf course in your area.
That's big. They have
Disc
that at
golf.
Stonewall, I saw.
Yep.
Okay, and is it YOU or just you?
No, it's UDisc.
Okay, and it's an app
Yep.
for
And
disc golf
Just like with trails, there are new disc golf courses kind of popping up all over the place.
everywhere.
And that's actually one of our resources page. We have a
Okay.
disc golf directory of disc golf courses in our 6-county region. So.
Okay. Thank you guys for the love in the chat. I appreciate it. We're kind of coming up to our halfway mark. So I will again ask if there's any other questions that you guys want to ask that we've already discussed, and then we're going to move on to your all's programs. And if I don't get any questions, one of the things that I would like you to start with is your website and how you get access to that, and I will put it in the chat for everyone. So do you want to start with that?
Perfect, yes.
Okay.
So our website is activeswv.org. And on our website, you can find information about really what we do, our different program areas. It has those resource pages, and it has, most importantly, our website calendar. So the website calendar is the place or the home for kind of where all our free activities live. So I'll just give kind of a quick overview of Active Southern West Virginia and what we do and what our goals are first before I get into that. So our goal with our free programming is to remove barriers so people can be active, everybody can be active, and we want to pay particular attention to those barriers we discussed earlier, like cost, time, geographical location, etc. So through our programs, we try to create different opportunities for people to be active in different geographical locations, different times throughout the day, different activities.
Wow.
So that website calendar is going to be your home base to find different activities to do in your location. Coming soon to our website calendar, we're going to have a feature where you can search for activity type and for geographical location. So
Wow.
it can be a little daunting at first to look through it, try to scroll through, see what you have there, but soon you'll be able to search for where you are, and maybe you want to try aerobics, so you can search, put those things together, and find an aerobics class near you.
And did I hear you say that all the programming that you have on the calendar is free?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, all
Wow.
our programs are free for everybody to participate in. And a lot of them are designed to be family friendly. So, you can bring the kids along to these hikes. You can bring these kids along to, sometimes we have stand-up paddleboard days.
Oh, look,
in the
it gave me
summertime.
cold chills. I mean, families being active is what we want, right?
Yes.
And the volunteers are coming out after the pandemic. We're seeing everything grow with that volunteer force because volunteers are leading the
that's nice.
program. So in the month of April, there were 179 activities offered.
Wow.
And we just finished a training with new community captains who lead those weekly or monthly activities. So we're seeing a running group in Huntington. We're seeing pickleball getting started in Fayette and Raleigh
That's
County.
the other big thing. I've
love
never played. I've got to
pickleball.
play.
Yep.
I've got to play pickleball. And a lot of places that when I went on vacation, I saw a lot of pickleball everywhere. There was something that you said that I was going to ask you a question. I stole your pen. Look at that. But I lost it. I'm sorry. It'll come back to me.
Well, I will say on the volunteers, like Melanie mentioned, we have
That's
a
what I
volunteers.
was going to ask about. Community
Perfect.
captains.
Yes.
Because you mentioned it, but these guys probably don't know what community captains are.
Yeah, so our community captains are the volunteers who lead all these free programs. So the way the community captain program works is we find, or people come to us who want to lead an activity for their community. So we have folks come who might want to lead a walking group or a running group or an aerobics class or pickleball or whatever it might be that they're interested in. And so they come to us and we can do a training with them so they feel ready and confident to lead this program for others, and then they're ready to offer it to their community. So
Oh my gosh.
they might set up, once a week they might do a pickleball class in town. Maybe once a month they do a hike throughout different trails in the area, just to give some examples of some things that different folks do. But again, the idea is for people in communities to lead these programs for their friends and family to participate in. And that breaks it down to that kind of peer-to-peer model.
Oh,
So
and it feels so much more comfortable.
it's your friend, it's your neighbor who you're getting out and active with.
And then you're
It's
holding
not-
each other accountable. Yeah, I
Exactly.
probably need to become a community captain,
Exactly.
so I have to.
And then we help pair that community captain with the venue space. So there's all kinds of parks and rec partners.
Absolutely.
There may be places of worship, so that individual is like, oh, I know I can talk to my preacher at church. He'll let us do the aerobics class on Tuesdays.
Okay.
And then we additionally insure every partner. We have
Oh,
sign-in
that's a
paperwork.
big barrier I didn't think about, is that when you're sharing spaces.
Yep. So
I
we
think
get
the
all of
joint
that.
use that was passed a few years ago would help with that, right?
Yep, shared space,
shared
shared use
space.
agreements.
Uh-huh.
So that really helps to get that community captain in a position of leadership with training, a venue that they're comfortable with, they feel supported in having that safe space to lead their program. And then we continue to foster them with promoting their program, checking in, visiting.
Awesome. So you're giving them that support.
And then we are collecting the data, the participation numbers, the surveys, and seeing how we are able to make that behavior change with the
That
participants.
is awesome.
Because then by participating in these programs, it gives them the confidence to go back and do it again. For
Right.
hikes, for instance, maybe they're not sure where to go, they're not sure which trailheads are good, but if they go on this guided hike with this volunteer and this group of people, it's not so scary anymore. They can go back, try it again, maybe have the confidence to try some different trailheads in the area, try out some different green spaces.
That is awesome.
So it just kind of organically spreads
Works.
from there. Yes. Yes.
Or that's the point, right?
Yes.
Want it to. Yeah. I'm sure this has been very helpful after COVID.
Definitely. It's been so refreshing. People have a new awareness of how important their health is
Yeah.
and appreciation for social supports. So you want your healthy friends around you.
Yes, and we're seeing that. I was at the West Virginia AAP meeting this past weekend, and one of the things everyone was talking about is the amount of mental health concerns that even our younger kids are having. And that's why I said, man, we need to have a big trail. We need to do some kind of a big trail awareness month. I'm sure it exists, right? I mean,
Yes, there are.
I'm sure there's a pickleball day. I'm sure there's a trail day.
National Trails Day
National
in
Trails
June.
Day.
Yes.
But for our families, just to really help our kids and families to bond, get out in nature, and really relieve some of that stress. I mean, I can just, as you said before, I can visualize that, and I can visualize that happening. It's for the providers, though, how do we get families to buy into that and come up with that idea on their own without me
Can I share
telling
a
'em.
story? Let me share a
I'm
story.
ready. I used Deshaun, so it's your story time now.
Okay, so I started with Active Southern West Virginia in 2015, and it was a concept and an idea, and they said, okay, go see what people will do. And I'm like, okay, let me see what they'll do. And I have a background in tourism, so
Okay.
those first couple times I'm saying to folks, hey, come on this hike with us. We're going to go to this hike. It's going to be great on this day in this place. And a couple times I heard, well, that's where the tourists go. I don't hike. I don't do that. So the next day I'm like, and I go back to that same person and say, would you like to go for a walk in the woods with us on Sunday afternoon? Oh, we used to walk every Sunday. So it's in that delivery of
that framework again.
So thinking of that culture, our Appalachian culture, thinking of the people that we're talking to and making it gentle and welcoming and easy, and hey, just get out for 10 or 15 minutes. If you're going by, oh, I know you go to this school, or you're going to be going by this, oh, you work here, did you know this park's close by? Stop by there for about 15 minutes and come back and tell me how much playground equipment's there.
So it's that personal invite. Are the community captains really involved in that, with kind of generating their own participants for what they love to do and to get other folks hooked?
Yes, definitely. So we do help with promotions for these programs, obviously, but community captains do a great job of, reaching out to their friends and neighbors and encouraging them to come and saying, I'm doing this program, why don't you come try it out? We also have Facebook groups for a lot of our programs, and a lot of community captains are very active on their Facebook groups.
Now that's like a Facebook group for pickleball or for whatever.
Yes.
It's not on your Facebook.
It's an extension of our Facebook, a group that's attached to it, but it's not on our main page there. So, in these Facebook groups, community captains are very active, interacting with these or participants rather, so that they're excited about coming back. They feel welcomed, and want to come back. And so, with that, it's that interaction and just getting people excited about being out, being active, and interacting with their community captain volunteers, who do a great job, like I said, of getting people to come out. So yes, definitely, they're great at getting people to come out to these different programs and choose from all the options and opportunities that they've helped to create here.
Right. That is
through our active
awesome.
Programming.
So what other programs do you have going on that are really good for children?
Children. So we have a Kids Run Club program, which is a pretty robust program that we started.
Okay. And that's at schools
Yes.
only, or is it community too?
So typically it is run through schools. We have had a couple community-based Kids Run Club programs in the past, but typically it is run through a school. And the reason for that is because the infrastructure is already there and the kids are already there. So usually the way the program works is either a school will come to us, or we go to a school and tell them about the program. They're interested in starting the program. And what the program is, it's a free after-school run club for kids to be active. Once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever frequency works for these volunteers who are going to run the program at the school. Those volunteers are typically parents and teachers who are interested in, again, creating these opportunities in their community for their kids to be active. And the reason, like I said, it's usually at schools, is because the kids are already there. So the parents are there, the teachers are there, the space is there. We already know it's a safe space, because they're there all day.
Right.
The teachers are familiar with the environment. And kids don't need transportation to that. They would just need transportation home. So that just removes that one barrier. And again, it just creates an opportunity for kids to be active at school and spend time with their peers, spend time in a team atmosphere. We tend to stress that the Kids Run Club is a non-competitive program. So a lot of different sports at schools either cost money or limited spots on the team, or they don't have
to try out.
With the Kids Run Club, we really wanted to create a space that's safe for kids to get active, learn these healthy skills that they can take with them through life, and not feel like they're in a super competitive environment that can be intimidating, to really build their confidence in physical activity. We typically do the Kids Run Club with an elementary school age, because it is that kind of age range that is before kids have identified themselves as athletic or not.
Okay.
So we want to sort of sow that seed when they're younger, that
so they're usually at elementary schools.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
But we want to sow that seed in their elementary brains that you can be active. Anybody can be active. Just because you're not. When we get to that middle school age, sometimes kids.
I can't run. I hear that from my patients.
I
can't run.
Too.
Yeah, I can't run. I'm like, you walk.
Yeah, we did a different club at a middle school,
right.
and I said you should try out for track, because she was going to move up into high school, and she said, "Oh, I can't run."
Yeah.
I can't run, it hurts.
Yeah.
And I'll try to tell her that you can, it's just, these things. But anyway, so again, with the elementary age, kids are running around having fun. They haven't thought that through yet. So,
Right.
So getting them into these run clubs at that age will then teach them these healthy skills so that when they get to high school, they have that confidence. They can join these other sports teams. They can go out and be active in different ways. So
That's awesome.
that's really the goal there.
How long do they usually last? Like, if school gets out the elementary schools, some of them get out early, right? Like 2 to 2-ish?
Yeah.
Different
So-
this year, well, in Kanawha County anyway. I know your other counties, it may be different.
Yeah. So each school is different. So when I
Okay.
do trainings with these volunteers, I tell them, you can set this according to your schedule, however you would like. Typically what we see is practices are about an hour, and it's usually once a week after school. So it's very manageable for volunteers, especially teachers and parents who have a lot of other things going on.
Right.
But it still gives kids that time to be active and have, release their energy and all that good stuff.
And the program is offered for 6 to 8 weeks.
Yes.
So we want 6
So
to
it's
8
like 6 to 8 week rotation?
6 to 8 weeks in the spring and 6 to 8 weeks in the fall, so that we're getting them out there when the weather's
Yes.
decent.
Okay.
So trying to hit the spring run clubs to start right around spring break. So right now, India is working with 22 elementary schools with run clubs that are happening right now.
22? That's
Yes, 22.
awesome. Jeez, we need to clone you.
It's actually our biggest kids run club
Year?
season yet. So
Oh,
it's very
congratulations.
exciting.
That is exciting. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, after COVID, we all need it. Yes, that is awesome.
And so those, usually somebody can find out that a run club is happening by contacting that school. If a provider is ever curious or wants to see the list of where there are run
run
clubs
clubs.
per county, we can let them know. We're not listing that on our website calendar because it's not open
Because
to
it's
the
at the
public.
school and it's
Yes.
not open to the public.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so I've got to ask,
Yeah.
are there any rug clubs in Kanawha County?
Yes, we
There
do.
are. Okay, well, now let me write them down.
All right.
Ready? I'm ready.
So we've got Kanawha City Elementary,
Okay, awesome.
we've got Kenna Elementary,
Oh, yeah.
and we've got Richmond Elementary.
Okay, I think I have patients at each one of those.
Wonderful.
How about that? So now I've got
There
a
you
new
go.
tool.
And the
Okay, I'm done.
the great thing about the Kids Run Club program is we're always looking to expand and we're always looking to get new schools to participate. So we actually have a Kids Run Club mini grant. So like Melanie
Wow.
mentioned, the spring is underway now, so the next cycle of that will be starting in August, getting ready for the fall season.
Okay.
But the mini grant is, we give you, any school who's interested can receive training on how to do the Kids Run Club program because we have a curriculum attached to that, a
Awesome.
curriculum manual. We give schools $250 to spend on healthy items for their club. So that can look like water bottles, water coolers, healthy snacks, physical activity equipment, really anything like that that helps kind of add to the club and make things more, more fun for kids to participate.
Right, and then every school would be different with what
Yes.
resources that
Yes.
they
They
always
might
had.
already
I'm
have
surprised you didn't say
activity.
T-shirts
Yeah.
because
Well,
usually
wait.
T-shirts are the big thing.
The other thing we do supply with the Kids Run Club is T-shirts and medals for each club.
Oh, automatically.
So it's something extra we like to supply.
That is great.
Make the kids feel like they're part of a team, make them feel like they're part of something special and bigger than
Wow.
just their school, because they are. They're part of, this season 22 others who are part of the program as well. And technical support, so we don't just, say,
Congratulations, bye.
go do your thing. We check in with schools throughout and we see how they're doing. We offer support. We do make sure they're successful, and we really want these clubs to be successful because it's not really just about the numbers, it's about the success and how the programs continue. We want to sustain these
Get
clubs
'em
throughout the
moving.
years too.
Oh,
Yep.
it's so much fun. So at the end of the 6 to 8 weeks, we encourage a fun run day. So the last day of practice is the parents are to come, friends
Oh,
and family,
nice.
and participate in whatever that set goal amount is with their child.
That is nice.
So they're learning as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then staff attending as much as we can and support those coaches and just have a great time. I mean, it is
right.
amazing.
It's really easy. All you got to do for kids is to make it fun.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's the only thing you have to do. So for folks on the call, that I know that you guys have kids or grandkids or neighbors, this is something that you could let your school know about, or maybe a teacher that has a special interest in physical activity for their kids, because this sounds like an easy thing, especially with all the support you get. And how often do you get funding with it? I mean, that's just incredible.
It can be up to twice a year.
And you can do it up to twice a year. Okay. And it can be in the community, right? So I
Yes.
would think that even private schools could participate,
Yes.
or
Homeschool
churches.
groups.
Homeschool groups, that is a great idea. I take care of a lot of kids that are homeschooled. That is an awesome
And they're
idea.
looking for the social aspect,
That's
too.
right, because they're not getting that, because, you're right.
So as an example of that, we did have one in Raleigh County, and they would meet at Little Beaver State Park and do their runs there. Because they already had their established homeschool group with their families that they would meet with. And
Okay.
so they went to Little
They
Beaver
just added
once a
it
week,
for their
added that.
physical education.
Yep. And you know, it was great it worked really well with those because they already had that established, like I said, kind of homeschool group, and then just create that activity element as well.
Right, that is great. That's great. Now, I know that you also have a couple of other programs that participants may be interested in for their own offices and for their staff, so they can get their staff on board. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so our workplace wellness program is probably our most structured program of anything that we offer because it follows the CDC Work at Health program model.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
Awesome. So we provide that training for free. Our staff and partners at the State Department of Health have gone through the T3 training with Work at Health. It is a 6 to 8 week training delivered all virtually to give somebody at the work site a point person that can manage the program so that we're able to build a multi-year program in workplace wellness to look at policy, systems, and environmental changes.
Within that work.
Within that work site.
Got it.
And if it's a business that has multiple sites, typically we break that down because it's environmental specific, and so we want to be site specific. So we're working across different sectors. It's amazing to see the variety of businesses that can make this training applicable to their workspace. We also give out mini grants with the businesses. That's a $1,500 mini grant. We can award up to 20 businesses every year. We've yet to give them all out. So anyone applying,
guys. Oh my geez, I probably should apply for my folks.
yeah, receives the training. We want you to
think?
have it. We want you to be successful with it. So, you know, think of that grant application process as a coaching process as well.
And when does that usually open? You
We'll
said it was
open
very
that
structured.
in the fall.
In the
So,
fall, okay.
We're just now wrapping up this year's grants. It's a July to July grant cycle.
Okay,
We just
okay.
visited some of our work sites. So NGK Sparks Plugs
Wow.
is a wonderful location, and they have other sites nationally that are taking it on.
Wow,
which
that's a
is
win.
Amazing.
Congratulations,
West
guys.
Virginia
That's awesome.
DMV, the DMV office.
'Cause they're setting the whole time.
So they, you know, morale, physical activity, nutrition, mental health, stress, all of those elements.
Awesome.
And then we see it even carrying over to some of our elementary schools. So when you have a faculty member that's thoroughly enjoyed a run club and sees those benefits and wants the other faculty to get on board with health and wellness.
So sometimes your programs will back to
Yes.
back at a location.
Yeah, and we
Oh,
call
I
that
bet.
the ecosystem. So there have been times when there's been a community captain who then takes workplace wellness to their business who has a kid in a run club.
Got it.
So
That is incredible. I hope you tell those stories on your website or
do,
just in
yes.
general.
Yes.
I know you tell them in your grant report, but other
Yes.
places too, because
And-
that's what you want to happen, right? You want those ripple effects so that we all can move more.
yes, so we're real excited. Workplace wellness programming just continues to grow. We're going to have our third annual Workplace Wellness Conference in September 7th at Glade Springs. And we're bringing in guest speakers to some case studies. Our case study is going to be with WVU and Morgantown Fire Department. So we're
Wow.
looking at how
Nice.
tactical employees need support in workplace wellness and the stress that they're under.
Now, you said it's like 6 to 8 weeks. Is that for everybody at the work site or
Nope,
just the coach or the lead person?
Just the lead person.
Okay.
So whoever's going to be the point person at the work site will go through the Work at Health training with our staff and with
Okay.
the State Department of Health to understand those 8 modules that are within the Work at Health training.
Okay.
Then we encourage that they do get a few other employees trained with them and they're not carrying the load
Themselves.
of implementing the
Yeah, I'm
action
into
plan.
co-chairs now.
Yeah.
Not chairs, but co-chairs.
Yep.
And 3 are better than 2, right? Spread the love.
Exactly.
Okay. So we have about 10 minutes left. We will be getting, well, actually, the evaluation link is now in the chat box. We appreciate your input and let us know any programming that you or any topics that you would like more information on. We do have some upcoming topics on motivational interviewing, and one with the community practice guidelines, and then one with just case basis. So the order of those will be determining on what most of you guys identify that you're most interested in. And Dr. Cross asked, so how do you apply for these? Is there a link with the information?
Yes.
Like your worksite wellness or the Kids Run Clubs. Do you want to address that?
Yes, our website, we keep everything very up to date on our website.
Okay.
So on the website menu bar, there's programs. If you drop down that program area, you see community captains, Kids Run Clubs, workplace wellness. Those website pages have the details of the grants and the programs.
Perfect. Okay. Dr. Cross, I hope that answered your question. And I know there are other programs that you all have that are specific that you want to tell us about. Anything from you, India, that we didn't cover?
Well, I want to take a second to talk about our resources pages, just
Okay,
to kind of give
awesome.
an overview of those, because I think that would be helpful.
Okay,
So,
great.
like Melanie mentioned, on our website we do have a top menu bar, and if you click our resources tab and drop down there, you can find a trails resources page, stroller-friendly trails specifically.
I think that's awesome.
Easy access to overlooks. You don't have to go on a long hike to see a beautiful view. We really want to stress that, meet your, activity level can be different for everybody. So, you can see some beautiful things with a shorter walk. Disc golf course page and playgrounds. And like Melanie mentioned before, we're also working on compiling that list of swimming pools and places to be active in the water as well that will be added to that list. But I think those pages are really useful to share with patients who don't know where to start, don't know what activities to do. So these are just great resources that are available to share out with different people.
Okay. That is awesome.
Yep.
Because we're always looking for easy things to go besides Mr. Google.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing I want to mention is our signature events. So our signature events are race events that we do as fundraisers for our free programs. And with our signature events, we have Bridge Day 5K, which is in October, coincides with Bridge Day. We have Run the Summit, which we just had a few weeks ago at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah. And then coming up, not this coming weekend, but next weekend is our Rim to Rim race, which is going to be.
What was it again?
Rim to Rim. So it's a 10K race, or just shy of a 10K at 6 miles through the New River Gorge. So it's a road race down and then back up
Fayette
again.
Station Road, so starting at the top, down to the river, and back up to the top.
So those we do charge money for these race events, but like
That's
I said,
the whole point, right?
They are
Because it's kind of a
fundraisers.
fundraiser,
Exactly.
so that all the
these free.
programs that you have on that calendar are free to participants to break down one of those barriers, or at least.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And one thing we do encourage with those race events is for folks to come out, our regular participants to come out and try them. So we try to make it really accessible. So, for instance, with our Run the Summit race we offer a 5K. And some folks come out and it's their first 5K they've ever run, or even a half marathon option for that race. We've had many first-time half marathoners come.
Wow.
So we really like to encourage folks to try out these signature events, try out these longer distances, pick a goal to kind of work towards. And even with these signature events, although they do cost money as a fundraiser for our free events, we still try to make them accessible, family-friendly, and just a great way to, introduce folks into the world of more competitive events if they're interested.
Right. That's incredible. Is that all for you? I have one more question for her.
Yeah, that's all for
So
me.
because this is pediatric echo, unfortunately, we do have to get into a lot of the comorbidities that are associated with especially younger kids carrying excess weight. It does affect their health. One of the leading issues is diabetes. And there is not a national diabetes program for kids. We are stuck with, like me, and Healthy Kids and more intensive lifestyle programs, but I know there are for adults. And you have been involved in some of those, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We have been offering for the last 3 years an online diabetes prevention program course. And I'm really excited in this last week we have received preliminary recognition with the CDC. So we're almost recognized with CDC for the diabetes class, but it takes a long process
To get
full recognition and be able to get reimbursements for people attending the program. But that's not the set goal for the organization. We have found that, again, that geographic barrier and people being able to travel to in-person classes and time constraints, that if we can successfully offer this online diabetes class, we can fill a need. And I know it's not for everyone,
Right.
but we are attracting people who want that style of learning. And we're getting ready to start a class in August. We'll actually start promoting through our monthly email newsletter, which
Okay.
is a great way to see monthly updates
Of what's going on.
when the
Okay.
programs come out and when the
Good.
grants come out.
Right.
So we will start advertising in May, and in June we'll do a diabetes info session. In July we'll do another just open to the public info session, and then hopefully those folks feel comfortable to actually commit to the year-long program with us in August.
Oh, so it's like a mini trial
Yes.
before a year long. Oh,
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
We
That is
found that to
awesome.
work really well. Get the information out there, make sure they can log in with us, their technology is working with us,
Yes,
and then they start the program in August.
yes.
But we're ready to refer for referrals. West Virginia Health Connection is setting us up with
And
referral.
what are the ages for that?
18 and older.
18 and older. Okay. Just wanted to make
and,
sure.
and pre-diabetic.
And pre-diabetic. Okay. They can't already have diabetes?
They cannot already
Okay,
have
so
diabetes.
only pre-diabetics 18 and
And
above.
when you will be referred, in our website and our email newsletter will take them into a test. So they answer 8 questions to determine if they are
Eligible or not.
eligible and
Okay.
pre-diabetic.
Great. Great. Okay. I put their website in already. The only thing I want to close with is I didn't talk about the 5210 prescription. I don't know how I didn't do that. Like, I've got it on the shirt. We've already heard the song. But one of the things that I learned preparing for this with these wonderful ladies is, and it is in the heart of motivational interviewing that we've talked about on many webinars, and we're going to add more of that this year. It goes back to really meeting the do's of really meeting folks where they are and knowing that they have the answers to their own problems, and it's our job to ask those right questions for them to realize it. So in setting the goals for physical activity, we have the physical activity prescription also has a goal tracker on it, so they can check how they're being active in like 15-minute blocks because it's for kids. And on that prescription, we always say how often do you think you will be active and for how many days. That's our way to start out really slow in the beginning, and then the goal is to increase it as we continue to follow them. There's also a blank line, and I think on the blank line for the providers that participate in the 5210 program with Keys for Healthy Kids, I think that we really need to pay attention and ask more specific questions for our kids and families of what is it that you can do to move your way, and what is an activity that your family has done in the past that you all have enjoyed. And of course, be a resource for those specific things, but ask them and let them identify where they want to start.
That sounds wonderful, because it's the difference between saying hike or saying walk.
Or move, like you said, move. And we need to start with just moving, and so that it's not so intimidating, right? So we just have, I think, just a couple of minutes. The other thing that I want to ask you about is, and if there's any questions from the group that is on Zoom, please put them in the chat box. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, when I was early trained in this field, probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, I don't want to say how long, the big thing was steps. And now it looks like we, in my mind, have really transitioned to minutes. Or even, daily for kids, weekly for adults. So just as long as you get it in, that's better than not getting it in. You've got to start somewhere. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's the transition away from telling them an activity type to giving them an amount of time. So you're not going to step count on your bike.
Right.
Or if you go paddle or
and
swim.
that opens up those
or
activities.
play pickleball. You can count your steps if you play pickleball. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Good.
just broadening that to be, get up and do something for your allotted amount of time, anything you like.
Okay. I think that is wonderful. And I think that's great advice to end this echo on. A few reminders, the evaluation link is in the chat box. It's really quick for those that have done before, you know that. So please fill that out for us and give us feedback, especially the other sessions that you want to see for the rest of the year. Let's see, what do we have? Well, thank you, Mr. Lucas, or Miss Lucas. I don't know, it's D. Lucas. And he said that he or she, D. Lucas, said to keep up the fantastic work, and I agree. You guys should be so proud of what you've done, and I think I said congratulations at least 3 times of some of the milestones you've met, and we do really appreciate everything that you've done. Don't forget that your name, email, and if you want CME or CEUs, has to be in the chat box. That will record and get that happening for you. And I wish everyone a fantastic day and move your way.
Five, 2, 1, 0. Every kid, every day. Let's have fun the healthy way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servings of fruit and veggies are great to eat. 1, 2 hours of playtime or less on our screens is more than plenty. And let's go play outside. 1 hour! Tiger it, my turn to hide. 0 sugary drinks. Yeah, that's the healthy way to think. Every kid, every day. Let's have fun the healthy way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.